Hello and welcome back. In chapter 2, we're talking about heredity, prenatal development from birth, right? It's really important that you guys are reading the chapters and make sure you're reviewing the PowerPoint notes or whatnot. As I do focus on the content of the slides and I don't put all the models and all of the different pictures or whatnot to bring some of the content to life or whatnot. So please review the slides and make sure you're reading the chapters. Okay. So when we talk about life development, the period from conception to birth is the foundation of all life development, right? We're talking about concepts of how do parents contribute to the genetic material of the child, what stages of prenatal development, what are some of the risk factors that can affect pregnant mothers of their unborn children, and why do some births have complications or others do not. So chromosomes play a huge role. These are structures that contain genetic material. Each person has 23 pairs of chromosomes, 22 are autosomes, and the 23rd is the sex chromosome, right? XY is a boy and XX is a girl, right? DNA is the molecule that composes one chromosome. Is that the biochemical basis of heredity, right? So DNA is very important. A gene is the biochemical institution that is produced by a group of chemical compounds within a strand of DNA. Humans share approximately 90%, 99% of their genes with each other. A genotype is a person's complete set of genes. A phenotype is observable features that are reusable, right? That from interaction between a person and the environment. Alleles, these are variations of genes. We got homozygous, alleles are the same, or heterozygous, alleles are different. Whether or not one receives dominant or recessive alleles from the parents determine a number of characteristics. Sickle cell disease occurs when both parents on the recessive allele for the disease. They both have that, right? Development is disturbed when there are more or less than 23 chromosomes in a sperm or egg cell. Down syndrome is caused by the extra 21st chromosome. Polygenic inheritance are traits controlled by a single gene or many. Example is extroversion. Two studies explored the issue of heredity. Compare monozygotic, identical twins, or dizygotic, fraternal twins. Monozygotic twins are more alike in characteristics than dizygotic twins. Heredity is implicated. How can adopted children be used in studies for heredity? Right. So again, because we don't understand, we may not have information about their parents and some of the traits of their parents. How do genes work together to influence behavior? Well, heredity and environment interact dynamically through development. Right. Example: PKU in infants and the onset of menstruation in girls. Genes can influence the kind of environment to which a person is exposed. How might a teacher treat a brown child different than one that's disengaged? Environmental influences typically make children within a family different. The family environment affects each child in a unique way. Did your parents treat you and your siblings the same way exactly? So if you had siblings growing up where you treated the same way, did birth order play a role, right? Um, Again, parents' genes, the child's environment, the child's phenotype, all those things play a role, right? So birth order can play a role, finances can play a role, the environment can play a role in the way parents differentiate from each children, but it can impact your development. Prenatal development, the changes that turn a fertilized egg into a newborn baby. Takes an average of 38 weeks, is divided into three periods: the zygote, the embryo, and the fetus. The zygote is the fertilized egg. After 4 days, the zygote is a hollow ball of approximately 100 cells. A small cluster of cells in the center is a germ disc with development to the baby. Cells closest to the uterus become the placenta. The amniotic sac is filled with fluids that cushions the embryo and provides a constant temperature. The umbilical cord contains the blood vessels that run from the placenta to the embryo. This is an example here of everything we just discussed as far as the umbilical cord, the amniotic fluid, the placenta, right? You can see the amniotic sac, the uterine wall, the fetus, right? You see the mother's blood vessels, and so on. The period of the fetus is extended to life systems, respiration, digestion, and vision, finish developing. The fetus experiences taste and hears sounds. Nutrition is really important in this process, as a balanced diet is essential for a pregnant woman with proteins, vitamins, and minerals. Increased calorie intake and 10 to 20%. Consequences of inadequate nutrition: premature birth and underweight, damage of the baby's nervous system, and baby is vulnerable to illnesses. Stress is really important. Anxiety during pregnancy can lead to early birth or lower than average weight. Children are more likely to have behavior or attention problems in preschool, right? So how stress works: stress hormones reduce flow of oxygen to the fetus. A woman's immune system is weakened, and more likely to consume alcohol or smoke when stressed, and less likely to eat healthy and exercise when you're stressed. Age of a pregnant woman can play a huge role. Pregnant teenagers and their children face many obstacles, generally lack good prenatal care and economic stability. Incomplete education, poverty, and marital difficulties affect the child's development. American women now have children at the average age of later than ever before. Fertility problems and miscarriages increases, and Down syndrome risk increases in the 40s. Ter, ter, I kill this word every time. Teratogene, an agent that causes abnormal prenatal development. Drugs could play a role. Diseases and environmental hazards. Smoking during pregnancy causes damage to the fetus infants. Constriction of blood vessels leads to less oxygen and nutrients reaching to the fetus. Children likely to have impaired attention, language, and cognition skills. Regular alcohol consumption carries risks. Fetal alcohol syndrome results in slow growth, heart problems, mishappen faces, and cognitive behavioral issues. So let's consider this. Should pregnant women use cell phones? How pregnant women avoid environmental teratogens if they do not know if they are there. Remember, cell phones can produce certain issues or whatnot due to radiation, due to those signals that's coming from your cell phones or whatnot, right? So again, could those things play a role in the development of a fetus or a child? There's 5 general principles we talk about, right, when it comes to teratogens. Impact of teratogens depends on the genotype of the organism. Can a drug approved for use of rats apply to humans? Impact of teratogens changes over the course of prenatal development. Each teratogen affects a specific aspect of prenatal development. Impact of teratogens depend on the dose, right? Zero exposure is the safest. Damage from teratogens is not always evident at birth, but may appear later in life, like certain types of cancer are caused by teratogens in adulthood. Ultrasounds use sound waves to generate a picture of the fetus, determine the sex from 16 to 20 weeks out, and can detect twins and triplets, right? Chorionic village sampling (CVS) can be used to detect a suspected genetic disorder. It can be used 9 to 12 weeks earlier than amniocentesis. Tissue samples is often obtained from the placement. Fetal medicine is treating prenatal problems before birth. Spina bifida can be corrected with prenatal surgeries. Hypothyroidism can be treated with the injection of hormones. And genetic engineering involves replacing defective genes with synthetic normal ones. So, talk about labor and delivery. These are the learning objectives we wanted to focus on in this section. What are the stages of labor and delivery? What are natural ways of coping with the pain of childbirth? What adjustments do parents face after the baby's birth? What are some complications that occur during birth? And what contributes to the infant mortality? So, there's a variety of prepared childbirth shared features. Birth is more of a problem-free and rewarding when parents understand what's happening. Natural methods of dealing with pain emphasized over medication. Relaxation through deep breathing and visual cues can be utilized. And the supportive coach helps during delivery. So helping parents adjust, right? Approximately half of mothers experience irritability and resentment after the birth of the baby. 10 to 15% develop what we call postpartum depression, decreased appetite, poor sleep, and low self worth. Breastfeeding can reduce the risk of postpartum depression. Some birth complications have dangerous effects. Hypoxia, infant does not get enough oxygen due to disruption in the blood flow through the umbilical cord. And preterm babies are born before the 36th week. Development delays usually vanish by 2 weeks from 3 years of age. Small for date, right? Babies usually result of mother's alcohol consumption and nutrition. Those weighing less than 1,500 grams, 3.3 pounds, are usually at risk. Development of intellectual and motor skills is delayed. Need stimulation to prevent developmental delays. And parent training and positive home environments are essential to counteracting low birth weight. And finally, infant mortality rate. Percentage of infants who die before their first birthday, right? Many women in the United States receive inadequate or no prenatal care, right? And what do countries with the lowest infant mortality rates have in common? What about those with the highest rates, right? So again, those are all things you want to consider when we talk about infant mortality rates, right? And talk about inadequate or no prenatal care, because those things are becoming very important with that very, very important stage of development, right? So again, we're talking about the birth. We're talking about from conception to birth, how those things impact us as we grow in our life development.